Hey, what's up, fandom? Thanks for joining us. We're glad to have you. Today, we're going to recap the Week 8 game between the Carolina Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons. And I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Cowboy Joe. Joe, how you doing?
Man, let me tell you something. We keep losing in Dallas, and it's just I'm any moment I'm waiting for Jerry Jones to jump in there and take over as quarterback. Those memes were funny. Keep doing it, fandom. I know it was one of the Carolina Panthers fans that did one of those memes. I found it hilarious. But I want to give a special thanks, to Josh Klein for joining us last week. He made that show awesome. I think we talked a lot of great stuff about the Carolina Panthers and the direction they're moving in. And, fandom, if you guys don't know, check out that section in the Bank of America field. He's talking about the real deal. Check it out, Check out the Roaring Riot. It's awesome.
Yeah, for fans of the Roaring Riot and just fans of the Panthers to have their own section, that's amazing. And yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Josh Klein of the Riot Report. Josh, thanks again for joining us. You provided some excellent content. We definitely appreciate that. So, having said that, should we get into the game here?
Yes, I don't want to get into the game, because I thought you guys played awesome, but yeah, we have to get into the game.
Well, I'm not sure about awesome, and we'll get to that, right? Because there were some moments of greatness, and there were also some moments of, not so great. But, first thing, as always, what I would take a look at is, when doing the recap, is just the quick reactions. And what comes through my head, when I'm writing this up, I'm thinking the defense is continuing to struggle. Right now, there's 3 straight losses that the Panthers have had. And they've got Kansas City coming up on the road and then Tampa Bay. So that's not looking too promising. But you know what? We're fans and we're going to pull for them. And, it's great to have a team. It's great to have that following. I enjoy watching the team play. There's some good players and good plays, coaches, everything. But, man, it feels good to win. And I kind of miss that.
And it's understandable. It always feels good to win. And anywhere you go, any team you play for, it's good to get that W. Yes, the defense is struggling. Again, like I said, they're still in that learning phase. Now you even hear the commentators talk about this. Hey, without this training camp, without OTAs, without any of that stuff, these teams have to, work on a fly. These defensive coordinators have to work on a fly and make sure their team is prepared for each game now. This is really uncharted territory, basically, because this COVID stuff is just killing us right now. And teams are not able to practice as they should.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right about that. We're seeing news pop up, it seems like once every day or every other day, that some team has some COVID infection or player, right? The Broncos now with John Elway and high up executive staff. It's like, whoa.
Or that number 1 prospect, Trevor Lawrence.
Yes, exactly. Trevor Lawrence, Clemson, huge game. If we're going to talk about the Carolinas, we got to talk about Clemson, right? Huge game coming up this weekend against Notre Dame. No Trevor Lawrence. So you're absolutely right. But getting back to the game, I noticed that the offense moved the ball fairly well. It's just that they stalled twice. They stalled on 4th downs that ended drives, and that was huge because they came away with just the 2 touchdowns, both to Curtis Samuel and the field goal, and they could have had an opportunity to at least get a field goal or maybe perhaps another touchdown, and that could be the difference in the game right there. Just the fact that they turned that over. Sure, they only had 1 turnover in the game, and they were actually they were +0 because they got a turnover and they gave 1 up on the last play of the game, that interception. But getting those stops on 4th down against them, that's just as good as a turnover. Another thing I noticed, the teams are continuing to exploit the soft zone, and Josh really talked about this a lot last week. He said that, and if you guys want to go back and look at that week 7 recap show, it's excellent because Josh talks a lot about some X's and O's stuff, but teams are exploiting the soft zone because that's what we're playing and that's what we're giving them. Our corners aren't necessarily as experienced as we would like. So what we're doing is we're playing zone in hopes that we can contain the opponent. And that's exactly what the opponent's doing. Is they're getting 8 yards here, 16 yards there, 4 yards here. The Panthers are doing a pretty good job of stopping them in the red zone. But the fact that they're getting opportunities in the red zone and field goals and touchdowns, I mean, it's just we'll get to more of the stats here in a bit. But, yeah, I think we're just going to continue to see this, unfortunately. Granted, Rasul Douglas is coming back this week from COVID IVR. He was practicing. So they're expecting him to be back week 9 for the Kansas City game, which is a good sign. Dante Jackson also should be back with his toe injury. It looks like he'll be okay. But your thoughts on this, Cowboy Joe?
The soft zone is really dangerous right now for the Panthers because let's just put it this way. Last week, who they play? Drew Brees. This week, Matt Ryan.
Mm-hmm. Next week,
I apologize. Week 7, Drew Brees. Week 8, Matt Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going into week 9, Mahomes, and then we got Brady, who loves to throw those little short passes.
Oh yeah.
So these quarterbacks are top 5 in my list.
Yeah, and the thing that bothers me is that defensive backs are huge in the NFL at this stage of in this particular time and era of the NFL because it's all about passing offenses. Well, if you have that, you got to have a defensive line to stop them, but you also need to have a secondary to stop the receivers. And the fact that the NFC South is loaded with receiver talent and that Carolina is just kind of not really doing much to put an end to that. That kind of bothers me. That's just something that I wanted to get off my chest there. But it is what it is, I guess, right now.
That 2 for 10 on third down is that's something that stood out for me.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the 1 for 3 on fourth down. That's great. But the 2 for 10 on third down, come on, you guys have. And, are we getting McCaffrey this week? I don't know. We are.
Well, it's not quite determined, but he's practicing. He's practicing in full, and usually that means that a player is going to play. If you're practicing in full during the week of a game, yeah, you tend to be.
Oh yeah, if you're getting all the snaps and you're getting all the play calls, yes, of course you're going to play.
So
if you're part of that first team, you're definitely playing.
We should have McCaffrey back, and we'll get to him a little bit later. But yes, 2 for 10 on third down, 1 for 3 on fourth down. Again, those 2 stops on fourth down killed us. For the season, they are 43.9% on third down, 11th in the league, right? That's not bad. That's middle of the road. That's actually a little bit higher than middle of the road.
Cowboys.
Yeah, but 2 for 10, and they're still 11th. I mean, what does that say? Plus, we're getting McCaffrey back. So hopefully this is something that will be just a bump in the road or blip in the radar here, and we're able to get back. Plus, we got Curtis Samuel, Mr. Third Down, right?
Yeah, and I think it will get better as the team starts, getting healthier. It'll get better. Now, that soft zone is the one that concerns me the most because there's the time and place you want to play that, but there's also time and place as a coach, as a player, to say, "Hey, coach, let go of the training wheels. I could cover him man to man."
Yes. I agree. And, it's almost like it's like, the prevent defense that we see often in the fourth quarter where, you're trying to hold your lead, right? What the heck? You're allowing teams to bounce down the field at 16 yards at a clip.
Yep.
And you're hoping that the defensive line can get some pressure. That's really the only way that you're going to have incomplete passes. These are NFL quarterbacks that you're playing against.
Exactly.
So
all I need to see is Carolina line up in the 4-6, the old Buddy Ryan defense that he did.
Yeah. This stat I got on the screen right now, 1 for 1 in the red zone. All right, that's great, right? But what's the key stat here? 1. They had 1 red zone visit. Now, granted, the Curtis Samuel play, I think, was 28 yards, the reception. So they were outside of the red zone there, but they scored. But 54% on the season in the red zone. And that's something that they need to improve on for sure. And one thing that I'll show you here in a little bit, but Kansas City has been giving up those red zone touchdowns. We'll get to that. What else? So they allowed 6 red zone visits against Atlanta. Atlanta scored on only 2, right? That's not too bad. They stopped them 4 times. So unfortunately, those were field goals. But
And you met Matt Ryan run when he doesn't really run.
no, right? And then what was it? Troy Pride, I think it was. Maybe it's someone else who slipped on the play trying to tackle him. He's crawling towards him. That was funny, but at the same time, he scored, and Gurley had the late touchdown as well to kind of that really kind of take the game away.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so looking at their opponents, Carolina's opponents in the red zone, their touchdown percentage 58.6. That's 12th in the NFL. So your thoughts on that real quick?
Having 2 red zones out of 6, I think that's a great win for the defense.
Mm-hmm.
But again, letting Matt Ryan run, and I understand he slipped, but and Gurley sealing the deal, I think this will only improve. Carolina will be better. I think they're a good team defensively. It just there's a lot of pieces that are not niching together. And
they're a young team. They're an inexperienced team.
They're right now. They're like this. They're supposed to be
coaches.
So yeah,
coaches too.
And fandom, it's only their first year all together with new coaching staff, new plays, new schemes, new stunts. I understand, we want to go ahead and win every game. That's impossible right now in this league. Take it from us. We thought we were going to win the Super Bowl. But, I think give it time, let it mature for a little bit, and watch. You're going to see this defense be what they're supposed to be.
So we're looking at player stats right now, and this is from the Atlanta game. I'm not really seeing a whole lot of offense. 176 yards passing is, very pedestrian. 66 yards rushing from Mike Davis to lead the way. The leading receiver was, it was actually DJ Moore,
mm-hmm.
who only had 2 catches for 55 yards, right? So, there's not a whole lot of explaining to do and big plays to talk about there. Defense, though, take a look at Jeremy Chin. Take a look at Brian Burns. Trey Boston, even with an 8-tackle game. But Marquise Haynes is playing fairly well. There's some talent here. And this isn't everybody. This is just the notable players that, I thought had some pretty decent stats. But anything stick out to you?
Right now, Jeremy Chin, I think he's just growing day by day. He's growing and he's getting confident. He is not afraid to hit people. And the tackles just say it all. 6 solo, which is, great, 4 assisted. But, the one thing, my favorite player, Brian Burns, is coming out, and he's going to get better. I think he's just ready to be dominant.
Yeah, and Jeremy Chin leading all rookies, all positions in tackles. So there's that. He's in the line for rookie.
Yeah, the kid's a tackling machine, dude, and the kid knows how to play the game, and he's just getting more confident.
Yeah,
let's spend some points on this, and this kid will be, I'm telling you, should I call him out yet? No, I'm not going to call him out yet. I'm going to hold this off till the end of the season. I'm going to say who he reminds me of.
Okay, all right. So
it's one of these players that you're going to say, damn, no, Joe, that's not it. Yes, it is. I think this kid is that special.
Nice. Okay, so we're saving that, huh?
We're going to save that. Just know, if you guys want to guess, go ahead and send that tweet. Who you think it is? I'm just going to say it's an AFC player.
You can send that to Carolina_fandom at Twitter, and let us know who you think Jeremy Chin reminds you of. So, all right. Speaking of Jeremy Chin, what stood out? How about that fake punt? Let's just put this into context real quick here. Jeremy Chin calls the fake punt, so I'm told. It was a 28-yard run that he had. It was on 4th and 9. This is right after a delay of game call that made it 4th and 9, because otherwise it was much shorter. They're on their own 32-yard line. They're down 19-14 at the time, and the fake punt was genius. He saw something that allowed him to make the decision, and he executed.
Kudos to the coaching staff rule for letting him do it, because most coaches will not. They'll call a timeout. They'll call a timeout right away and try to ice that play, because they're not confident enough. But kudos to Rule for letting him let his player think like this and let him do it, because that but brought the game to 19-17, and that gave Atlanta a little bit of more scare. Oh no, are we going to be the same Atlanta of always?
Yeah, right, exactly. This is the kind of stories that we're hearing or talking about later on in his career, where we're like, do you remember when he was a rookie and he did this, right? Just remarkable. I can't say enough about Jeremy Chinn. And I said here, most tackles among the rookies. He leads the team with 67 tackles as well. I think Shaq Thompson is right below him at 66. What else stood out? DJ Moore targeted 6 times, but only connected on 2.
Let's talk about that. 6 times, only 2 receptions.
I don't know if you remember, there was a play, I think it was the third quarter, where Teddy Bridgewater was going for a kind of a deeper throw on the right side of the sideline to Curtis Samuel. And I think it was 3rd down because it ended the drive. And he was covered really well. And the pass was just not a very great pass. It wound up being incomplete. But DJ Moore was wide open crossing the field on a slant. And he easily would have had the first down, if not more. And he missed him. And that kind of concerns me because Bridgewater's, he's got his eyes on Curtis Samuel as this play. It's almost like that was the play in the huddle, right? And that's what he wanted to go with. And he was in his set ways of making sure that he got that play, that pass attempt to Samuel. And the wider open play was Moore coming across the middle. Wide open. Easily would have had it. So that bothers me. But
that would have been a 6. That would have been 6 points.
Yeah, 2 receptions for 55 yards, and the big one was the 32-yard excuse me, the 32-yard catch that was on 3rd and 18.
Yep.
They're down 8 at the time, and 1:47 left. I mean, that was huge.
Yes.
That was big.
And did you feel when he caught that pass, the whole team feel like we have a chance now? We have a chance to pull this off.
Well, there was a lot of moments like that in the game. It's like, okay, we got that. Okay, we got that. Ooh,
but
we're still in
it. At that moment, I had goosebumps when I saw that play and he caught it. And then I'm like, this is going to be pulled off. They're going to pull it off, and I was excited. I was like, okay, and what happened? So there is a lot of excitement to have for the Carolina Panthers. There is a lot of, the future is bright for this team. This young team, the future is bright. I'm just saying, if when a fan gets and I'm not, the number one fan for the Panthers, but I'm a fan. And when I saw that play, it even gave me goosebumps.
Well, yeah,
this is the play, it made me yell. Like I yell for my Cowboy game, but, this made me yell like, yes.
Yep, there you go. See, you're becoming more of a fan, Joey. That's what it is. That's what it's all about. What else stood out to me? Cornerback play is weak. We kind of already talked about this. And keep in mind, Rasul Douglas was out. Dante Jackson didn't play the entire game because of the toe. Both of them are scheduled to be back this week against the Chiefs. So that's a good thing. That's a very good thing. Hopefully that we'll be able to see some of the defense that allowed only 16 points to the Chargers and the Falcons and 21 to the Cardinals earlier this year, because they're going to need it against Kansas City. The offensive line struggled up.
Yes.
They struggled. They gave up 3 sacks. Greg Little, I hate to point him out here, but I mean, he was a liability. There was a couple plays where he just looked like a turnstile. He's very good for run blocking, excuse me. But I mean, as far as the pass protection, man, there's areas that he needs to improve. And
that's what it is. It's his footwork. His footwork is not there when it comes to the pass. And I see it when he tries to jump off that line. He's not confident enough to plant that foot and hold that defender. He is scared. And that's all footwork. He needs to work on that footwork. And with rush, I think as an offensive line, it's easier to do a rushing, type play or, push that lineman up at least 5-10 yards down the field than it is to go ahead and step back and try to hold that lineman that's coming full speed at you.
No, well, you talk to any offensive lineman, and one of their favorite things they like to do is run block.
Yes.
So I mean, he's good in that regard. And the good news, though, is that Russell Okung should be coming back. He had the calf injury, but it looks like he'll be back. Don't quote me on that, but he's trending in that direction. So
Greg Little should just reach out to Okung and say, hey, how do you cover? How do you move when this guy's going to come and try to push you away. How do you plant that foot, and hold him?
Mm-hmm.
All we need is 3 seconds for Bridgewater to scan the field so he could get the pass.
That's right.
And if you're not giving them that, then you need to reach out to those those veterans and say, hey, how do you do it? Show me.
Well, and it's not just that; it's dealing with the stunts, right? Or when there's like when you've got 2 defensive linemen they're kind of converging in on 2 different offensive linemen. You got to know which one who's picking up who.
Exactly.
And there was some of that. We saw it on the sack against the Saints. The 1 sack that they gave up, that big sack that ended the game, pretty much. But yeah, it's just it's what's the word?
Mechanics. That's what it is.
Mechanics. Yeah, right. Just
all the mechanics that he wants, and knowing, the playbook. The playbook does change from time to time, but knowing who you need to, if a stunt comes in, you know who to actually cover or block. If it is a screen, you know how to pull out, and pull right to the left, pull to the right. So, yeah, it's all mechanics. And I think him reaching out to a veteran, like Okun, is really helpful. And I think that's what he needs to do.
Yeah.
He's still young. He's still learning. But I do see that I play defensive end, defensive tackle, and I played a tackle, left tackle once. Mm-hmm. And, man, my footwork was bad. That guy just pushed me. Like, he could. I remember being a lineman. I'm like, whoa, do I do it this simple, or is this like I just stumbled? And and that guy was like 220, and I was like at least 250.
Mm-hmm.
I should have just held him. But and that's what it is. It's how you step off that line. Once that huddle is broken and you need to block. Mm-hmm. That's where I saw his footwork just a little bit, slower than everybody else.
Yeah, plus too, when you don't have all of your linemen playing together, if you don't have that cohesive unit, you don't have the chemistry, and we're kind of seeing that. So, good points, excellent points. I already mentioned, as far as the turnovers, they were +0 in the turnover battle. They had 1 turnover and they caused a turnover, and they remain +2 on the year. That's not too bad, right? We'll take that.
Not at all.
Conversions need to improve on both sides of the ball. We sort of talked about this, and here you can look at the 3rd down conversions and attempts and what their percentage is, and you can see their ranking here as well, offensively and defensively. I mean, defensively on 3rd downs, right? 31st in the league. That means 54.2% of opponents, when it becomes 3rd down, 54%, over half, convert, and we're seeing that even more over the last couple weeks. The red zone, not too bad. All right. Offensively, yes, they need to improve, but you know what? McCaffrey's going to help with that. Defensively, they're 12th. Not bad, but still, they need to improve. And, these conversions here, 3rd down, offensively, defensively, red zone, offense and defense. I mean, that's a lot. That's a huge piece of how you win games. So, to me, that stood out, and I wanted to showcase that this week. Areas to work on. We're up at this particular section of the show. We go over this. Get the defense off the field. I've been seeing that the time of possession has not been in their favor in these losses. When they win, guess what? They're upwards of 32, 33, 34 minutes. Time of possession. When they lose, they have like 23, 24 minutes. Get the defense off the field. 25.3 first downs per game in the last 3 games. Again, that goes back to our soft zone coverage, right? Mm-hmm. And teams just exploiting that. And when you're in the NFC South, when you have Hall of Fame quarterbacks, Drew Brees, perhaps Matt Ryan, right? Tom Brady, we know is in. And
don't forget these wide receivers: Evans, Jones, Ridley.
Julio Jones is probably one of the best wide receivers in the league, but his specialty is getting open in that zone. And he does that really, really well against Carolina. We've seen him before. He had 300 yards before against a suspect Carolina defense that was dealing with injuries and didn't have their starters in. So, you almost could predict that. But yes.
Now, and then that's one. Improving the red zone, yes, definitely. Quarterback pressure, yes. That's where I need to focus on more. If I'm Matt Rule in the defense, let's focus on getting to that quarterback.
I mean, a couple of weeks ago, it was just Detroit and Cincinnati that had a worse or a lower quarterback pressure. Now they're like 10th now, 10th worse, excuse me. There's like 9 teams that have a lower quarterback pressure than them. They had 13 this past week. That's trending up. So that's good, but we need to keep it up. We need to keep that pressure coming. We need Yetur Gross-Matos coming back to help.
I'm dying to see him in action. I am dying to see that kid in action.
That high ankle sprain. I mean, what did he have? He had like I forget what the line was. His box score on like 20-something snaps. He had a really good score. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more of him as well. So those are my areas to work on. Injury notes. We got Christian McCaffrey coming back hopefully this week. That's the plan. He's been practicing, a full practice. Usually that's a good sign. Rasul Douglas is coming off of COVID IR. He was removed from that on Monday. So we should see a full practice from him this week and playing on Sunday against the Chiefs. Russell Okung, his calf, they're saying week 9 he'll be back, which is this week. Dante Jackson, same thing with his toe injury. But you know what? It seems like his toe injury could be a lingering thing, and that might be something to deal with. But hopefully he's able to play because we need him. Zach Kerr, defensive tackle, also hopefully to be back this week. John Miller still dealing with the ankle injury, and, of course, Gross-Matos dealing with the ankle injury there. But
the two that stand out here for injury right now is Kerr and Jackson, the toe. That's a tricky,
yeah,
anything could spark that back up again, and that's what I'm afraid of. So, Okun calf, would he start week 9? Chiefs, I say yes. As a professional, you want to start, you want to play, you want to showcase your talent. Calf, very tricky. When those linemen are coming down and pushing you back to another lineman, and the ankle rolls or somebody steps on you. It's just I don't want Okun to get hurt again. Unless if he's 100%, I will say yes. If I was the coach, I will ask him, "Are you 100%? If you're not 100%, I don't want you there because I don't want you to get injured and cause more time off because I need you."
No, I agree. And there's Dennis Daly, too, in that mix as well. He's, I don't see him on the injury report here, so I need to look into that and see. But right now, it's either Okung or it's Little. So we're hoping that it's Okung. All right, so next week at Kansas City, I did a little bit of sleuthing here, and I found out that one area that we can exploit is Kansas City in the red zone, or us in the red zone in Kansas City's defense. They're 25th in the league in red zone defense. They've allowed 16 touchdowns on 20 visits. That's 70%. That's almost upwards where New Orleans was. One stat to be aware of, Kansas City is 7th in opposing offenses scoring on a drive. Carolina is 28th, right? So opponents score a field goal or a touchdown against Kansas City like 33% of the time, right? And Carolina is 28th. So, I mean, that's something to, I'd be a little bit concerned about, but that's hopefully something that they can improve on. Maybe McCaffrey can help with that,
Yes.
Your thoughts on the Chiefs? It also looks like their defensive end, Chris Jones, might not be available for this game. Their star defensive end, right? So if he doesn't play, that's a very good sign. But anyway, sorry, your thoughts on the upcoming game?
So I'll look at 2 players for the Chiefs if I was the Panthers right now, and especially with this soft zone, and we're not going to do man-to-man.
Kelsey?
Yeah, Kelsey's going to have a big day. But also, Hill is going to be covered, and he's going to be part of the rest. He's actually going to be the decoy for Kelsey and this other player, Le'Veon Bell, because that man could catch.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to exploit some screens there.
Yeah, plus Bell now has another week of experience, another week of understanding the plays, the practices, and the playbook. One thing that Kansas City likes to do is throw deep. One thing that Carolina likes to do is prevent throwing deep. So this could be interesting, right? If Kansas City just does everything that we saw New Orleans and Atlanta do, I think that's a big concern. If they try to play their game or going deep, that could come back to bite them. We might actually see a couple interceptions, perhaps. Jackson himself has 3.
Much needed receptions, much needed for the confidence for that defense.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
I agree with that. But I think, Patrick Mahomes is, you know him. He is Mr. I scan the whole field, and if I see something that I could exploit, I will do it with my sidearms.
One of the things that Mahomes does really, really well that I don't think gets enough recognition is that he moves around really well. It's almost like he moves around to a certain spot so that he knows that he can get that open seam. And the fact that he has Travis Kelce to be in the open in the middle like that is so huge.
Tell me if you agree the comparison to Mahomes, Steve Young.
Okay.
How he moved, to get Jerry open, when he ran those slants.
Yeah,
I think Mahomes is a little better than Steve Young, but in that aspect during their careers. But this kid, man, every day he just amazes me, just like Lamar Jackson, And and you know what? Mahomes, stop doing sidearms because you know what? Our third string quarterback is doing that now, and that's all he's doing. That's all he could pass, sidearms. Those little underneath. I'm tired of those. I saw like 20 plays that he just threw sidearms to players. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You're not Mahomes.
All right, so Joey, what do you think? What's your take? Give us a prediction on this game, and then we'll wrap it up, and we'll talk about some other things I know that you want to say.
I am telling you this right now. I'm always rooting for the Panthers to win. I always give a win to the Panthers. I'm going to call this one depending. Okay, it depends. If Mahomes wants to go and air it out to Hill and his receivers, then I say Carolina has an edge and could surprise the Chiefs, and could upset them. So I say 23-21.
Interesting.
That means the safety has to happen. So I'm hoping one of my defensive players could, sack Mahomes or there's a safety play that they do.
I'm actually looking forward to seeing how much they use McCaffrey, how much Mike Davis is going to be involved, if at all, how much Curtis Samuel will be involved, because we've seen him with some carries, right? I think he has 19 carries, the same amount of carries that he had all last year, which was 19 carries for a receiver is a lot.
Yes,
and he already has that. So I'm interested to seeing that. I'm interested to see what Jeremy Chin does in terms of his coverage. Where's he going to be? We've seen him all over the place. He's a joker on defense.
Yes.
He moves around. He's like Troy Polamalu, right? Just moves around everywhere. So yeah, I'm interested in that. I'm curious to see what Joe Brady unleashes with Teddy Bridgewater. How are they going to attack this Chiefs defense? So yeah, lots of questions. Looking forward to it. As always, we will be here to recap it next week. And you want to talk about the fans, is that right, Joey?
Definitely. I want to talk about you guys. You guys are what makes this show go, and we love you guys very much. We want to see you, in a live event one day, hopefully after all this COVID stuff is over. But there's a special fan that, wanted people to go with him on, and I got you, Catman. Next time, invite a Cowboy fan. I got nothing to cheer for. I'll go with you. I'll cheer for the Panthers.
You mean to the game?
Huh?
You mean to the game? He invited people to the game? I missed that.
Who's going to come into the game? Who's coming with the – nobody wants to come to the game with me? I'm like, ooh, I saw that tweet. I don't think he wants a Cowboy fan to go, but I'm like, Catman, next time, I'm your man.
We'll go. We enjoy that kind of thing. Kind of like football over here. So that's good. Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Fans, thanks so much for joining us, for listening to us. Hopefully you learned something, as always, here watching the show. If you have anything else to say here, Cowboy Joe, we'll wrap it up.
Just know that this show is for you guys, and we're only here to make to improve it for you, the fan, and that's what we're here. So if you have any suggestions, please, again, Jeff, what's that email address or what is that Twitter handle that we have to submit for any suggestions for our fans?
Well, the Twitter handle is probably better, and that's at Carolina_fandom. Talk to us about your thoughts on the game. Who does Jeremy Chin remind you of? Who does Cowboy Joe remind you of? No, we're just looking forward to the interaction. And it's not just football, guys. We've got an MLS team that is waiting to make themselves known. And at least we have the brand and the marketing associated with it right now. But, man, I'm looking forward to that. 2022 can't come faster enough for that.
What about the new facility? Let's talk about the new facility, too, being built.
Well, you know what? I actually was down there a couple weeks ago, and I took some pictures of the facility. I posted it on the Twitter handle. So that's there. You can take a look there. I mean, it's just construction right now, but it kind of gives you a little bit of understanding of how big this place is going to be. You know, granted, I wasn't allowed full access to the construction site, right? In fact, where I took the pictures from, I probably shouldn't have been there, but we're not going to talk about that.
Hey, Mr. Tepper, if you're hearing, hint, hint, we want to see it more. We want to see more of it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We want to see more publicity there. But, yeah, this is all about you guys, so we want you to be more a part of it. If you're interested in coming on the show and talking with us, not necessarily being, a guest and you're responsible for a lot of content and material, but just someone who comes on and gives their opinion on some things.
Yeah.
We would like that. Or if you just want to comment, once we start to get some more live shows happening where we have a live feed and you can comment on that, we're looking forward to that as well. But for right now, if you like the show, give us a like, give us a follow on Twitter, as well as subscribe on our YouTube channel and comment. Let us know how we're doing, what you liked, what you don't like, what you'd like to see more of, that kind of thing. So we totally appreciate that. I'm rambling. For Cowboy Joe, I am Jeff Hasley, and thanks so much, fandom. We will see you next week.
Awesome.
As we recap the Chiefs game.